In Myanmar, there is a mountain where people still leave offerings for spirits they believe never left. Its name is Mount Popa. The mountain rises suddenly above the dry forests of central Myanmar like something separated from the modern world. Golden monasteries cling to volcanic cliffs high above the jungle while clouds drift through stairways lined with shrines, bells, incense, and statues watching silently over the mountain. During daylight, the place looks beautiful. After sunset, people speak about it differently. Because according to Burmese belief, Mount Popa is home to powerful spirits known as the Nats. Some were believed to be victims of betrayal. Others died violently. A few became feared long after death because people believed their anger never disappeared. And for centuries, locals treated the mountain carefully. Visitors are warned not to disrespect the shrines. Some avoid wearing red near particular temples because certain spirits are believed to hate the color. Others refuse to climb after dark entirely. Then there are the stories. Travelers hearing footsteps behind them on empty stairways. Temple bells moving beside abandoned shrines late at night. Visitors suddenly stopping mid-climb because they felt someone watching them from the jungle below. And what makes Mount Popa unsettling is this. The fear surrounding the mountain existed long before modern ghost stories. Long before tourism. Long before cameras. Long before the internet transformed legends into entertainment. Because ancient people already believed something lived there. Tonight, we explore one of Southeast Asia's most mysterious sacred mountains. A place where volcanic cliffs, ancient spirit worship, real cultural fear, and unexplained encounters still collide high above the jungles of Myanmar. This is the mystery of Mount Popa. And why many people still believe the mountain is watching. Mount Popa does not feel like an ordinary place. The climb begins beneath dry forest and volcanic rock while monkeys move through the stairways surrounding the mountain. Bells hang beside shrines covered in flowers, incense smoke drifts through the warm air, and visitors slowly climb hundreds of steps toward monasteries balanced high above the cliffs. But the higher people climb, the quieter everything becomes. One of the most feared Nat legends tells the story of two brothers who once served a Burmese king centuries ago. According to tradition, the brothers became famous for their unusual strength after eating enchanted flowers connected to Mount Popa. The king eventually feared them. One brother was executed. The other reportedly died from grief not long afterward. People later believed their spirits remained on the mountain. Over time, Mount Popa became one of the spiritual centers of Nat worship across Myanmar. Even today, offerings are still placed beside shrines throughout the stairways. Fruit, flowers, bottles of alcohol, burning incense. Not as decoration. As respect. One traveler later described reaching the upper stairways shortly before sunset and noticing how quickly the atmosphere shifted once the crowds began leaving. The monkeys disappeared into the trees. The wind became louder near the cliffs. The jungle below turned strangely silent. According to his account, he continued climbing alone when he began hearing footsteps somewhere behind him. Slow. Measured. Steady. At first he assumed another traveler was approaching. But every time he turned around, the stairway remained empty. Still, the footsteps continued. Step after step. Shrine after shrine. Then the bells beside a nearby temple started moving gently. Only the bells closest to him. The others remained still. He later admitted the experience disturbed him enough that he descended the mountain before darkness fully arrived. And stories like this continue surrounding Mount Popa today. Not dramatic horror stories. Something quieter. The feeling that the mountain notices when people enter it. One reason the fear surrounding Mount Popa survived for centuries is because many locals still behave cautiously there today. Not performatively. Naturally. Visitors quickly notice that guides lower their voices near certain shrines. Some avoid pointing directly at statues connected to the Nats. Others become visibly uncomfortable when tourists joke about the spirits while climbing toward the summit. One local guide reportedly refused to continue climbing after sunset despite spending most of his life near Mount Popa. When asked why, he answered quietly, Some places belong to us during the day." Then he started walking back down the mountain. Another traveler later described watching a woman carefully place flowers and rice beside a Nat shrine halfway up the stairway. According to her guide, the woman returned every year because her family believed the spirits protected them after surviving a terrible accident decades earlier. The guide never smiled while explaining the story. That detail unsettled the traveler more than anything else. Because nobody around Mount Popa talks about the spirits like fantasy. They speak carefully. Like people discussing something they do not fully understand. Another story involved several visitors laughing loudly beside one of the shrines during the evening climb. According to the account, strong winds suddenly swept through the stairway while nearby temple bells began ringing almost simultaneously. Then one member of the group stopped walking. Completely stopped. He reportedly stared toward the trees beside the stairway for several seconds before quietly asking, "Did you see that person standing there?" Nobody else saw anyone. But the group stopped joking immediately. And perhaps that is what makes Mount Popa different from ordinary ghost stories. The fear never feels theatrical. It feels inherited. Passed quietly between generations until the warnings themselves become part of the mountain. Long before modern travelers arrived searching for mystery, Mount Popa was already one of the spiritual centers of Nat worship in Myanmar. That history still shapes the mountain today. For centuries, ceremonies connected to the spirits were held near the volcanic cliffs. Pilgrims traveled long distances seeking protection, healing, blessings, or guidance from beings they believed existed beyond the visible world. Even now, Nat festivals continue attracting worshippers to Mount Popa. Music echoes through the temples. Offerings cover the altars. Incense smoke drifts through the stairways while spirit mediums dressed in elaborate clothing perform ceremonies believed to invite the Nats into the human world temporarily. To outsiders, the rituals can feel surreal. Especially after sunset. One traveler later described standing near the shrines during the evening while fog moved slowly across the mountain. According to his account, the jungle below had completely disappeared into darkness while temple lights glowed softly through the mist above the cliffs. The mountain no longer felt connected to ordinary life. It felt suspended somewhere outside it. Another visitor described waking before sunrise and hearing distant drums echoing through the stairways while monks moved silently between shrines surrounded by clouds. According to the traveler, the experience felt less like visiting a destination and more like entering a place where ancient belief never ended. That feeling appears constantly in stories connected to Mount Popa. Not panic. Presence. The feeling that generations of ritual, prayer, fear, offerings, and whispered warnings still linger around the volcanic mountain long after the people who first created those traditions disappeared into history. And perhaps that is why visitors continue leaving Mount Popa emotionally unsettled even when nothing unusual happens at all. Because the mountain makes ancient belief feel strangely possible. Most people who visit Mount Popa leave safely with photographs and memories of one of Myanmar's most beautiful landscapes. And yet many still describe the mountain as difficult to forget afterward. That may be the most fascinating part of the mystery. Because Mount Popa does not frighten people suddenly. The feeling builds gradually. The farther someone climbs, the farther away the modern world begins feeling. The jungle stretches endlessly below the volcanic cliffs while bells echo softly through the wind surrounding the temples above. And eventually, visitors stop feeling like tourists. They begin feeling like guests. Perhaps that is why so many stories connected to Mount Popa sound strangely similar despite coming from completely different people. The same silence. The same feeling of being watched. The same hesitation once darkness reaches the stairways. Not hostility. Attention. And maybe that feeling is exactly what ancient people recognized centuries ago when they believed spirits lived among the cliffs of Mount Popa. Whether the Nats are real or not, the mountain still carries their presence in the minds of the people who climb it. And somewhere above the forests of Myanmar, beyond the shrines, volcanic rock, drifting incense, and bells moving through the darkness, many still believe the spirits of Mount Popa are listening. If you enjoy exploring sacred mountains, hidden worlds, ancient legends, unexplained places, and locations where mythology still feels alive today, this is exactly what Tilt and Chill is about. Not just stories. Atmosphere. Mystery. And the feeling certain places leave behind long after the journey ends. From forgotten cities and isolated jungles to sacred mountains, spiritual traditions, and places where old beliefs still shape the modern world, we explore the mysteries reality never fully erased. Subscribe to Tilt and Chill and join us as we continue searching for the world's most fascinating places. And tonight, imagine standing alone on the stairways of Mount Popa after sunset. The jungle below disappearing into darkness. Temple bells moving softly through the wind. Fog drifting between the shrines above the cliffs. Then suddenly, you hear footsteps somewhere behind you. Slow. Measured. Steady. You turn around. The stairway is empty.